Hi, it's time for another edition of the Thought Project. Just so you know, the weekend edition. I don't normally make them, but I hope you enjoy this one. We're going to do another round of Pitbull and Lil Jon Jump In. It's the remix of the old House of Pain song, Jump Around. I'm going to do it. Let's get this thing jumping. And if she's with me, then you know she's the 10. I quarterback stack them, billion stack them. 8 buck on the pocket, game over, rack them. Get up, stand up, come on, get your hands up. I was raised by Luke, so go and raise the roof. I stay clean like a fresh triple beam. And in 93, it was all a dream. Monkey that ass, chunky. Pass me the rollie and roll me the funky. She got an ass like a 7-tray dump. And she don't make it touch, she make it jump in. And that was the second time I played that song on the show, so obviously I'm kind of a fan. Congrats to Pitbull and Lil Jon. Apparently, the song has already hit like 431,000 views as of 10 days ago, so good for them. Anyways, so for this edition, we're going to go back to economics. We're going to talk about some other stuff, and then today is actually going to be the world premiere of one of my original songs that I have not used. And as most people know, I went through a long extortion scheme, got a lot of my work used in the entertainment industry for books, scripts, films, songs, likeness, all of it, never got paid. And it's an issue the U.S. government still hasn't resolved, and I'm still waiting on to hear if they're ever going to actually get me paid for the work, because it took so much work at the Department of Labor just to get the extortion stopped. So, and talking about that is not something I can like fully divulge over a TV show or a YouTube show or a radio show or in any form of the media. It's really something that will only be discussed with actual lawyers. And in some cases, as you know, with these extortion schemes, you can't actually just resolve them with a simple lawsuit, because if you're dealing with people that are involved with the Russian mafia or some other country, sometimes you're actually looking at solving problems by simply taking organizations apart. People getting fired, people going to prison. Payment for me for all the work may never actually happen. And I just want to say, in opening the show today, one of the mistakes I made was that I actually did provide some good material. For a long phase, I went through basically what were just setups where I would, provide some good material, thinking there was a real investigation, and then provide what wasn't, so the person would just be done. And in the end, with some of these artists you're going to see sort of flopping out, or their careers have gotten weird, it's because they didn't pay me. And they credited people who weren't anywhere near me and gave other people my money instead of paying me. And that is the fault of a specific agency that I know of, but it's also the fault of a lot of other people involved in the entertainment industry. And that's why I say Hollywood, like, who needs them, really? Because that's pretty classic Hollywood. And it's gone on for a long time, especially ever since the fall of the Soviet Union, because there were so many people that set up fake organizations to run money, and they take advantage of people like me or me and use us for ideas and don't pay. So, again, who needs Hollywood, right? So, anyways, and, I said that earlier in the show. It's very interesting. I hate to open up with a Hollywood thing, but Johnny Depp actually went to Cannes this week, Cannes Film Festival, or Jean Dubarry film, and he said Hollywood, he doesn't need them. I had pointed that out a long time ago in one of my shows, but many people have said it. And he actually landed the most lucrative perfume contract for a man, at least. It may be the most lucrative perfume contract ever as well this week. So on the same day that he literally said, goodbye Hollywood, he said hello to one of the most lucrative perfume contracts that anyone's ever heard of. And especially for a man, and it's for Dior. So just think about that for a second. Anyways, we're going to talk about some global issues, though. Apparently, China is engaging in a mass demand for all of their debt, like all the money they've loaned, in some cases forcibly loaned to people, to be given back to them. That's really interesting, because some people I dealt with were part of the Chinese structure, their government. They owe me money. So it's very interesting to me that the Chinese would suddenly demand everyone pay their debts, but they've never paid the debt they owe to me. Where's my money? I just want to know. I'm just curious, It's always funny when someone wants everyone else to pay their debts, but they don't want to pay the money they actually owe to other people. It's not just me, and actually me, by the way. So, on that note, The S&P Global has now stated that the default rate for many companies, especially junk companies in the US, is going to go up to 4% by the end of the year. And it's going to double 1.7% by the end of 2023. That's not quite 4%, but it was interesting numbers coming out of their article. Anyways, so March 2024, we're up 2.9% at the end of the greater. Okay, so what they're basically saying at S&P Global is that the default rate is going up, that a lot of people took out debt in companies, in private companies in the US. They took out a lot of debt, a lot of debt. And they can't keep up with it because rates have changed, the climate has changed, and the economic climate. So they're going to be defaulting on their debt. So some of these companies that have massive amounts of debts, whether public or privately traded, are actually going to be defaulting. Now, what does defaulting mean? Well, it means they're not going to pay it. And for an individual to have a small amount of debt and not pay it is one thing, but for a large company to have a huge amount of debt and not pay it is catastrophic, right? May not have a company. May not have an organization. Might see a lot of places falling apart. Might see a lot of people not getting paid at all who actually were getting paid, even if they should have been paid or whatever their situation was. And I say that because most people don't even know what the S&P Global is, but it's a mutual fund that does asset management and a wide range of investor needs, traditional equity and fixed income funds, asset allocation, global and specialty funds. And that's from them directly. I looked it up and I checked it a couple different times just to make sure it was correct. So that's where things are at, because people tend to listen when S&P Global says something as a mutual fund and what's going on in the world. You know, what's going on in the US, and then it's going to affect other markets, other countries. So that's what's up. Anyways, and notably, Marjorie Greene Taylor, who is a Republican member of Congress from Georgia, announced this week articles she's going to introduce or has introduced articles of impeachment against President Biden. Will Garland, that's the head of the DOJ, and also against the head of the FBI, Chris Wray, and also Alejandro Mayorkas. It was interesting at first when she was talking about having Biden impeached because of the border issues and all the other economic problems and all this craziness that's gone on. You know, the IRS found out that there was interference in the investigation into Biden's son. And it's so, I mean, the agencies sound to me like they're actually trying to do the right thing. And it's bad enough a situation that they're actually being interfered with, which is really concerning. But I was just amazed that she was naming Biden in the clip I saw, and then I looked up, looked for more detailed information, saw she had all these other people listed. I would think Alejandro Mayorkas would be the person that would have to go, because he's the one who's been on all the hearings in Congress that have gone so poorly. But I also haven't spent enough time looking at anything else that might have come up. So, like I've said before, definitely take your time, do your homework, spend your time on YouTube, go on C-SPAN, watch the hearings yourself, because all this stuff is actually coming out through C-SPAN. It's not actually coming out just through YouTube or spin doctors, spin artists or, opinion makers or thought leaders. Even if those people are correct, it's actually coming straight out of literal coverage, literal straight feeds. So anyways, this is really interesting. Was anybody really ever a fan of The Rock? He's the strangest person. He does that. He goes like that. And I think that's all he's really known for, which I ironically have done my whole life and did since I was a kid. Hint, hint. So he's now apparently out of a deal with Disney over a $3 billion kidnapping scheme. So he's actually out. He is dunsies. Not going to be in the Fast and Furious series. None of it. It's all over. And what did he ever do? I don't know. I thought he was kind of fun in WWE, but I just liked him because he could do the same thing I could with his eye. Well, I can go do that. I could just stand there and do that for hours. You're going to pay me $3 billion to go like this? And say I can smell what you're cooking? Oh my gosh, this is ridiculous. I don't know what that guy really does, but apparently he's a bad dude. Bad guy. Made all of his money doing bad stuff. Probably find out he works for the Russian mafia too. Yeah, probably. Let me go through a list of people who are famous who have committed crimes. And I want to name this for you because when I worked out in LA and actually worked for entertainment, Rebecca Gayheart very famously ran over a 9-year-old boy. And it was the most horrible story because afterwards she got more work as a result of the press. And it made me sick. And it was one of the biggest motivating factors for me to get away from ever coming back. Like, I never took a job at E because of it. And they actually wanted to hire me. So I just didn't want to be out in a place where people acted like that, especially not towards children. But she's one of like 10 people I looked at the names of that committed murders and they've never really been brought to justice. Sometimes the circumstances were explained. Rebecca Gayheart actually never had an explanation. It was just a total hit and run. It was literally just that she pulled an LA pull around, didn't want to stop for the kid, ran him over, and killed him in 2001. So, here's some other names. We have Michael Joyce, Chris Benoit, Ted Kennedy. Everybody knows the Ted Kennedy story. Lynn Spears, Britney Spears' mom. Don King. Laura Bush. I didn't know that about Laura Bush. Laura Bush actually has a really good explanation for her story, but and she's always been very apologetic about it. But that's yeah. Robert Blake, Vince Neil, Oscar Pistorius, Wilkin S. Burrow, Phil Spector, and Matthew Broderick. Most people don't remember the Matthew Broderick because he has such a squeaky clean image. But he and Laura Bush both have the same story of a tragic event where someone was killed while they were driving a car. And these are all pretty much car accidents. But some are more obviously hit and runs and, very malicious, just malignant behavior. Than some are just total accidents that are really sad to hear about. Kind of upsetting. So, but I just thought you might run through all those so people would know. It's an interesting list, strange stories. But the new iPhone can replicate a user's voice within 15 minutes. That's from Apple. It came out this week. Apple is extremely proud of their accomplishment. I think the rest of us are kind of freaked out. I'm not happy about it, but I've already seen that technology, the replication of people's voices, and it's frankly been used in a number of these cases I have referenced with these pop singers performing, and they're literally lip syncing. Please don't ever confuse anything on my show with the practice of drag singers to lip sync, because the whole point about a drag singer is, they're lip syncing. They come in dressed up like a woman. They're doing a performance. It's all very open and honest. Nobody thinks these drag singers are actually singing and performing a song. So please don't ever confuse a drag singer with some crazy woman who's working for the mafia that's, got a microphone like this up to her mouth because she's using a record back and she's actually not singing at all, and it's somebody else's voice. Even worse, it's been stolen and used. Okay? So, don't ever feel like that. I saw there was some news in the LGBTQ community, like they're now the two LGBTQIA community, they're splitting. Okay, maybe that's why. Maybe some of their drag queens want out and away from some of this other stuff that's gone on. Because a couple of these performers that have been lying about their voices and stealing material have tried to manipulate the gay and lesbian community, which is just, that's horrible. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But wish I could help you with that, but all I ever did was, I had 3 roommates when I lived in the DC area that were gay, 2 gay men, and 1 woman who was bisexual, and we got along fine. They were all good roommates as far as I remember, so that's all I have to say about that. I think everyone is very individual, and people need to be taken on an individual basis. So, it's too bad, but let's see. No, I kind of think that might be about it for my material. Oh, Idris Elba has come out and said that he does not wish to play James Bond, which is a good choice. I think the Bond series is done. I think that the last series of films and everything that went with it was good enough, and it probably needs to take a break. I don't think they need to make any more, actually. I have no interest in watching other series. No interest in who's in it. No interest in who's going to start it. I think Idris Elba has a great thing going with his career, and it would have been a horrible mistake for him to have bothered signing up for the series. And I know you're saying, well, how does that even relate to economics? Well, the Bond series is different because it's a big driver for money for the English and the Broccoli family, but they've, over the years, stopped being so English and started working more with American companies, and I don't know. I think you might want to go back to something else or give it a break. Just give it a breather. But he's making the right decision by not going with them on that. So, and that kind of looks like it's about it. So it's strange times for investing. What I wonder is what happened to some of these performers like Jessica Simpson and Jewel that were pretty and could actually sing and perform? Like, why did everyone just push them aside? It never makes sense to me. We push them aside in favor of these weird synth pop women. And even when I was going through all this stuff, growing up and still trying to get my bearings on my life and who I was in my 20s and 30s, because I went through something really horrible. And I say this because it started with a man who's actually an agent. I've talked to him at meetings, but I didn't really divulge the one thing that was the worst, which is that he literally asked me and said he never offered me marriage, never offered me a work contract or anything, but he literally demanded that I go to work for him to groom kids for him to abuse. And I said no. So that's why I've gone through so much, because then I went out to the DC area, and you would think I would have found a huge number of government employees and other people would be supportive, but instead I ran into some of the nastiest, most aggressive, hateful people you could imagine. And some of them had government jobs. One worked in Arlington County and still works there. They would literally scream in your face. And, I referenced a DA agent that ended up being actually put in prison for a fairly long time. She would actually get my face and scream and claw at her face. She turned out to be a Russian asset, but she was also in with the Cubans. Well, Cuba and Russia are pretty much, pretty good friends, right? So, and that kind of behavior was a lot more common than it should have been. A person like that belongs in an institution behind locked doors. So it's going to get in your face and scream and claw at their face and talk about how they want to have sex with kids. And your job is to go out and find them kids to have sex with. And this guy is free living in the U.S. He's still a predator at large today, running a company out in California. Just got to say it because I'm tired of it all. I lost my stuff this year. I'm staying with a friend. I'm someone that had every right to have had a career. You think I'm kidding around? Look back at the reports on Joss Whedon threatening former representative of the House and former House Speaker Paul Ryan and threatening to kill him because Paul Ryan shut down some of the illegal labor operations that were supplying ideas without payment to Joss Whedon for his films. Okay? This really happened. This all happened. It all went down, people. And I don't know if it's much of a current day issue for me because I got my part in all of it. I got myself taken care of. But I've gone through some major losses because of it. And I think the one mistake I made was that as there were more investigations, especially even with some of the involvement with the FBI, I'm going to tell you right now, nobody likes weird old men telling women to just strip. And that's one of the problems that I saw around the DC area was that we had some really weird old men in the government literally just telling women that they were just supposed to get out there and strip and make films. This is a controversy that's gone on for 20 years and is the craziest thing I've ever heard of. And it better not be a problem today, because if that's what's going on, then I totally understand why articles of impeachment are being introduced, because that's the stuff that needs to stop. Anyways, one of my mistakes was that I actually did give up some really good material, and it was all based on heartfelt experiences and my training as a writer, and I never got paid. Again, just threats. Whatever. And I'm not going to say it's all just about older men that were rude, because there were a lot of women involved that were greedy and just thought everything was supposed to be about them, and they just didn't care if somebody else got stolen from. And even listened to some really bizarre men that turned out to be tied to the Russian government that somehow got a foothold in the U.S. government and had to be pried out of it. So now they're just criminals, but I don't know. It's a real problem when some guy sits there and tells me that he'd rather see some weird chick that's tied to his Russian mafia doing bad dancing or hanging out at a stripper pole and lip syncing a song than allowing actual artists to perform. Because let me tell you something, those women could do that. They need to steal from me. They could do that on their own. I'm not even going to get into telling people how to live their lives. The point is just don't steal from me or anyone else. Don't steal from actual artists who actually spent time with their craft and making something. So I got a little song for you today. It's a world premiere. A little trolly song, but I really enjoy doing it. And I actually get to perform it because I wrote the whole thing. Every single part of it. So. Real artists have rights. Real artists have value. Baby, every now and then, I think about us and who we might have been. Until I cut the strings, your tiny violin. Ooh. My mind is on my money right now and it makes me angry. I'm at the crossroads right now and I've got to choose. If I can't decide, then my head might explode. Baby, my head and my heart and your arms, they're falling to pieces. Now just stop. What? No. I have to choose. I choose a no and a no. Did you get it? Here we go. I choose a no. I did a full 180, baby. After worrying about the way things might have been, I did what I had to survive you. And if you don't want to see me dancing with somebody else, don't show up, don't go out. You know how. What? That was my song. Sing about my divorce. Who's she? Just think about my life. This is the remix. Back up, back off, back up, back off. Real artists have rights, real artists have value. Back up, back off, back up, back off. Here's you, baby girl. You think you're going to be a big performer. You want to be a big dancer. You want a song to sing. You want to be a big singer. but you can't write the song yourself. And you don't have any talent at all. Can't sing, can't dance, no talent, no talent, no talent at all. But she wants to be a big performer. Ooh, you want a dance song? Ooh, you want a dance song? Ooh, you want a dance song? You want a song? Then sing it. You want a song? Then write it. Now dance to this. Grow up, girl. You don't have a thing of your own to wear. No style of your own. Like you had any life experience to write about, please. Spoiler girls. This is the remix. This is the reality check. Back up, back off, back up, back off. Real artists have rights, real artists have value. Real artists have rights, real artists have value. Get a real job if you can. You actually work at if you can. Get a life, get a life, get real. The rest of us have had it with you. Back up, back off, back up, back off. Wake up, wake up. Real artists have rights, real artists have value. Real artists have rights, real artists have value. Now, girl, see that windshield? Now wash it. See that floor? Now scrub it. Do you need that job? Now do it if you can. Fold your own laundry, girl. Time to get a real job, get a real skill if you can. This is the remix. This is the reality check. Back up, back off, back up, back off, back up, back off. Can you sing the song yourself? No? Then shut up. Can you write the song yourself? No? Then shut up. This is the remix. Real artists have rights, real artists have value. Wake up. Real artists have rights, real artists have value. Back up. Back off. Ooh, you want a dance song? Ooh, you want a dance song? Ooh, you want a dance song? Well, dance to this. Shut up. No one cares. And that's it. That's my remix, beat mix, whatever you want to call it, my beatnik version. It's a compilation of, I put 2 verses in from songs I wrote that I never got paid for. And I mixed it all together. There was a friend I had years ago who worked at the stage department who wanted to put in the part of the ooh, you want a dance song, because she was fed up with it too. And there really is no apologies. If you think the song's a bit trolly, well, the point is that it's not okay to beat people up and ask them for free material and not pay them for their work, and then to put somebody else out there who is completely fake and weird and just doesn't have any business being on a stage to begin with. So that you can run drugs, because that's what it was all about. That's what it. And that's what this show is about. It's a thought project. It's a thought project of moving forward with life and thought. And I hope you enjoyed all of it and you have a good day. And I hope you really enjoyed this special world premiere of my song. Thank you.